Truth embodied in a tale shall enter at lowly doors. So you take your vision and make every effort, based upon your talent, to put it into the form of a story that man, accepting the story, will find it moving story into his own being. It becomes a man. So here, the story of the king who is dreaming, and he is dreaming the most glorious play in the world, yet it's a horrible play. Listen to the radio tonight, or the TV tonight, or tomorrow morning's paper, and see the horrors all over the world. Brother against brother. The whole thing is in conflict, and yet it is serving a divine purpose. Don't you lose the vision. Don't get lost in the play. You remain faithful to the promise. Unless I die, thou canst not live. But if I die, I shall arise again, and thou with me. So God died, and God's death is simply to cease thinking of you, and to think from you, to occupy you. Just as you occupy a house and think from it, you do not move in waking any more than you move on your bed in sleep. It is all a movement of mind. The intensity is determined by the strength of the vortex you create. It is just like a whirlwind within a center of perfect stillness. You only believe that you move when you wake, as you think you move in sleep. Where on earth is he moving? Where is he? He's all places. There is no place where God is not. So where is he moving? It's only a movement in mind, and we are but animated bodies, and he doesn't want the poem to exist only for him. He wants the poem to exist for itself. So here he dwells now in man, and man thinks he is moving. I do not move in waking any more than I move on my bed in sleep. It's all a movement of mind. Then he tells me it's like a whirlwind within a center of perfect stillness. And the intensity is determined by the vortex that I create. That I only believe that I move when I wake, as I think I move when I sleep. Well, I know I do not move during the night, save just move from one side to the other in bed. That every moment of my life, I'm acquiring a new note on this fabulous keyboard on which I will play tomorrow when I completely leave this garment. And life within me, I will animate this entire thing, and will I then create out of that fabulous thing an Alice, that I will so fall in love with something coming out of that fabulous keyboard that I too will do for Alice what he did for me. I will say then, to that comes out of my creative power, unless I die, thou canst not live. But if I die, I shall arise again, and thou with me. Wouldst thou love one who never died for thee, or ever die for one who had not died for thee? And unless God dies for man and gives himself eternally for man, man could not exist. So God dies. So you and I are creating now, or rather we are gathering together through our horrible and lovely experiences, for joy and woe are woven fine, a garment for the soul divine. So we are gathering together a fabulous keyboard on which we will play tomorrow and produce the perfect one with whom we will fall in love. That you do not wish her to exist only for you within that poem. You want her to exist for herself, and there is no way you can make her exist for herself unless you give yourself to her. So you die. You give up everything that you are, your creative power and your wisdom, and take the weakness and the limitations of the one that you brought forth out of your own being. My emanation, yet my wife, till the sleep of death is past. And then you will understand that all these poets have been trying over and over again to tell us. So how could I ever be what I was after the vision, when the vision was more real than you are here now? Far more real, more alive. So from vision to vision, I have compelled to change what formerly I believed. I could no longer accept the theories of men. They all sit down and write their theories. Karl Marx writes his theory. It's a little theory. It shakes the world, yes, but it doesn't mean it's true. And so another writes another theory and another theory, and so you all have all kinds of theories in the world, but then my visions completely turn them completely over. Hasn't a thing to do with vision, with the reality of life. Hasn't a thing to do with it, even though they seem to shake the entire world. So let them shake the world. You remain faithful to the vision. If they haven't come, they'll come. They come at the end of time. In the end, you will understand it clearly. In the end, in the beginning, it seemed you must go here and go there and go elsewhere to acquire all kinds of knowledge. Eat it as much as you want. The tree of knowledge of good and evil, in the end, you will eat from the tree of life. And you will know what it really is. It's all within us that he wanted to give me independence and freedom. I only existed with him as an animated body to move and do as he willed. And independence means that I can do as I will, for he is a protean being playing all the parts. And then I know that I am the king who is dreaming. So come and let us go and look at him, said the brothers. Oh, he is dreaming now, and I wonder what he is dreaming about. But no one could know that. Why about you and Tweedledee? And if he left off dreaming about you, where do you think you would be? He will not leave off dreaming about you until his will has been accomplished, for I will not turn back until I have executed and accomplished the intents of my mind. Let all the others speculate and carry on with all their nonsense. Today's great theory that may even prove itself in performance will be disproved tomorrow by some modification of that theory. Even though it proves itself, it'll be modified tomorrow. So let them all speculate. Let them run around trying to find another way to the Father. Someone comes to town with a huge balloon of advertising, and they all rush to hear what he has to say, and they get nothing but nonsense and an empty pocketbook. And then they come back and wonder, why hasn't it happened to me? And you remain silent, for you know exactly what they have been doing. They've been running around from post to post and wonder why it hasn't happened to me. So I tell you, he's dreaming now, and he's dreaming about you. And he will not break the dream. No one can arouse him until he completes his intention. His intention is to give himself to you as though you were no other in the world. Just you and God, and eventually only you, for you will be God. There is nothing in the world but that. And then having acquired this fabulous keyboard of experiences, oh, will you play? You will play it beautifully and bring forth one that so captures you that you want to give your emanation of her own life, to make your emanation exist within herself, and not just for you as the poem exists for the poet. And you too will lay your life down in her, and cleave to her until you become one. Now you dwell upon it, and let no one divert you. Oh, they can give you 1,001 arguments. It makes no difference. After you have had a vision, you are led by the vision, and you remain faithful to the vision. It would make no difference at all to you. Although the world convolves as it is today, carrying signs this way and signs that way, and all brother against brother, as you've seen in the papers. Don't think for one moment it's all in one direction. The country's completely divided. The vocal minority seems to be the majority. It's not the majority. There are unnumbered ideas in the world, and men live by their ideas. Let no one think by tomorrow morning's paper, depending on the cut of the paper, how they're going to cut the news, for they all do it. They cut it based upon what the policy of the editorial setup is at the moment. But they do not know the world's picture. But you forget all that nonsense, and you go about on this vision. God actually became you, that you may become God. You dwell upon that, and let the whole thing go past you. It's the story of every great imaginative writer in the world and all the truly great poets. And they tried to the best of their abilities to tell it, knowing, as Tennyson knew, that truth embodied in a tale shall enter in at lowly doors. So you can tell it, and the lowly door will accept it in a most literal form, and they will live by it. It will simply cushion all blows, and eventually that truth will erupt in its true form within them, and they will see the truth that was intended in the story. So you are the Alice of Alice through the looking glass, and you were taken to see the king, and he was sound asleep dreaming. And you thought that no one knew what he was dreaming about, but one of the angels did. He's called Tweedledee a nut. Tweedledee and Tweedledum and the Mad Hatter, they're all nuts. While those in the angelic world would appear nuts to the rational mind in this world, but the rational mind is going to live longer, and the only one who gets richer by the advice given by one who's talking about living longer is the one who talks about it. The entire sink was eaten away by the liquid plumber. So I asked him, does this thing work? He said, it does for two people, the one who manufactured it and the one who sells it. You are the animating power of everything in the world. Now you are acquiring a keyboard, and you think of that chromatic scale, and suppose you could only play it in one direction and would not miss one measure. It's all you can do. And then one day you discover you don't have to go on this way forever. You can jump, or you can go back in time, and your fingers can split, and you can hit two notes together. You learn to still hit another one that sounds harmonious. One day you become so proficient that you hit a note, and through its discord you learn how to resolve it. You can produce it and bring it into a dissonance, and you become the most expert on this keyboard. Well, now think of life, of experiences, building a keyboard, and each note is simply an experience in life. And you take all these experiences, and you are the artist now, and what you bring out of that fabulous keyboard, and then you bring it out, and you want it to exist for itself, and not only for you. So instead of playing on it forever and having all these things come out, these glorious things existing only for you and not for themselves, and you give yourself to your own creation that it may exist for itself, and not only for you. Question. After one is awakened, and he has left the garment on earth, and he returns home, what is he doing? What does he do? Neville says, what does he do? He creates, my dear, and contemplates this world of death. As Blake said it so beautifully, those in great eternity who contemplate on death said thus, What seems to be is to those to whom it seems to be, and is productive of the most dreadful consequence to those to whom it seems to be, even of torments, despair, and eternal death. They are part of the brotherhood, the redeemed body, and contemplate this world, letting it be to those who want it to be. Tonight, a man who has $1 billion, oh, he can't think for one moment. He wouldn't for one moment think of death. He doesn't want to die. He wants to live here forever. Though the body gets older and weaker, he wants to live here forever with his $1 billion. He knows he has to leave it behind him, and he's breaking his brains not to, and wondering how to protect it in the right channel. And he builds himself portraits of himself. Always glamorous portraits. Compare the original to the portrait. Well, you'd faint if you thought these two are the same. But he has to have that for posterity. He builds himself like Stalin. Stalin had thousands and thousands, and Hitler had thousands and thousands of statues of themselves. They renamed the rivers. They renamed the city. Stalingrad. Now it's Volgograd. He wasn't yet cold when they renamed it for him. And all the rivers are renamed, and all the fellows put the little things around their heads and broke the statues and smashed them. He never thought that would ever happen. A little fellow here in Santo Domingo, he did the same thing too. Trujillo, that little tiny island, statues all over to Trujillo. He only stole about $1 billion out of the small island and built up his own little reputation, so they all do it. They all do it. And people are still carried away with these stupid little leaders and pick themselves up, and like sheep, they will follow anything. You know, if you took a sheep as the leader at sea and took the leader and threw the leader overboard, all the sheep would follow and jump overboard. That's a fact. That is a fact. Take the leader of the sheep, the belled one, throw him overboard. All the sheep will run and jump overboard. That's what man does. They are just like sheep, but they don't know it. Stop being the sheep and stop following just because it's a popular thing to do. And begin to simply dwell upon the eternal story and hope it will take place in you. Every moment in time is a note. It's an experience, and it is caught in eternity. You may not remember the entire day and all the little sequences of the day, but they are not lost. If you gave your time to it, you'd bring it back. There is a little practice of getting into bed and thinking of the day in reverse order. It's a very good way to go to sleep, may I tell you, because the mind tires so quickly if you take it in reverse. And by the time you get to where you started to undress, if you take all the details, you are sound asleep. Man thinks he can go through the day. He goes through by jumping from cleaning his teeth to dinner. There's quite an interval between dinner and cleaning your teeth. If you took all the little details, and they're all individual notes on the keyboard, before you go, just a matter of moments, the mind tires and off to bed you go. Off to sleep. In the morning when you get up, we jump up, wash our face, and get ready for the day. And how many record the individual incidents of the day? And this ends, he is dreaming now. I can think of you forever and forever, and you are but shadows within my mind, flat surfaces, depicting that which I would like you to be. But you are not that which I would like you to be until I die and live in you and turn you into a reality. Because it would be a true hell if we're always repeating the same life over and over again without any sort of growth. But each of these experiences we have in all these realities that we've lived through become notes, as he describes, on a keyboard, and you can play them. Here indicating that our experiences in the past become keys on a keyboard that we can use to create. And what happens after we leave? What do we do? And he says, those in great eternity contemplate on death. What seems to be is to be. Those to whom it seems to be and is productive of the most dreadful consequence. But he says they create. They're creating and contemplating the world of death in this other world. Here he's giving an example of Alice in Wonderland, where the king is dreaming, implying that the king is dreaming him, and making the analogy that God is dreaming us. God has gone to sleep and is dreaming us in his sleep, and then when we awaken, it is God and us at the same time. People that are super selfish, that build statues for themselves and portraits, was somewhat funny. Criticizing those who are just serving the self, because it amounts to nothing. If you're a billionaire or you're Stalin or Hitler and there are billions of statues around for you, they will crush those statues the moment of your death, as they will do with people in this world who think that they deserve statues. It's just how it is. But what we get at the end is this amazing idea how every moment we live is super important, because oftentimes what we experience in our day ends up seeping into our dreams and we don't get to the deeper stuff.